It's D-U-E-U tell. I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah. D-U-E-U.
Welcome to Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and today we're going to preview the 2020 edition of the Cincinnati Bengals. And before we get started, let's take a look at some of the key storylines heading into the season as we go into our 4-minute offense. And what was the worst kept secret in all of the NFL draft coverage? The Cincinnati Bengals made the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback from LSU, Joe Burrow, their selection with the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. Between the selection and the current depth chart, it has been made clear that this is Burrow's team. Now, the Bengals find themselves in a very familiar position with this position, seeing that they've done a really good job in finding their previous 2 franchise guys in Carson Palmer and then Andy Dalton. I believe they struck gold once again with a former LSU Tiger and Joe Burrow. He has the mental toughness that you want to see from the position and has the entire requisite passing skills like touch, timing, anticipation, and accuracy. And what is most beneficial for the Bengals and Burrow for that matter is that he is stepping into an offense that has an assortment of weapons at wide receiver and running back. It should be fun times in the Queen City. Second-year head coach Zach Taylor is probably more eager to hit the field than some of his players are, judging by how his first season went last year in Cincinnati. Hailed as an offensive genius, Taylor's offense was just average last year, ranking 26th overall in total offense. Now, there were a lot of reasons why that was the case, from injuries to A.J. Green and Jonah Williams. Andy Dalton was ineffective early on, getting himself benched, only to have to come back into the lineup because his replacement, Ryan Finley, who was a rookie, was much worse. It was just a combination of issues that contributed to the lack of success on offense. Plus, the defense wasn't much better, ranking 29th overall themselves. However, with all of that said, I don't think the Bengals were as bad of a team as their 2-14 2019 record may indicate. They were in a lot of games last year, a lot of close games, and my feeling is that Coach Taylor recognizes that as well. The hope is that the second year in his system, with additional talent that they've added at key positions, will be exactly what the doctor ordered. Last year's first-round pick, Jonah Williams out of Alabama, was expected to be the Bengals' starter at left tackle, but suffered a torn labrum during the summer and was forced to miss the entire season. Now, how good Williams can be is still to be determined, but I do think it is fair to say that not having him out there last year was a big blow to that offensive line. He's further along than expected as he started to practice in December and figures to be 100% and ready to go for training camp. Now, if Williams is as good as advertised, then it could just further expedite the growth and development of rookie quarterback Joe Burrow and helps stabilize an offensive line that still has some slight question marks heading into the season. The Bengals, who are notoriously known for not being the biggest of spenders in free agency, bucked that trend this offseason and went after some key players on the defensive side of football in an attempt to improve a unit that ranked near the bottom half of the league in many categories. Cincinnati hopes that former Viking corners Trey Waynes and Mackenzie Alexander, as well as former Saints safety Von Bell, can help a secondary that only picked off 11 passes. And they're hoping that former Ravens linebacker Josh Bynes can help a 32nd ranked run defense that gave up over 148 yards rushing per game last year. Seeing the Bengals be this active in free agency in conjunction with how they attacked the NFL draft, they made it clear that last year's defensive performance was unacceptable and we'll be looking to change that in 2020. The Bengals hope to continue the streak of stable, consistently good quarterback play with Joe Burrow. Not many teams have had a run like the Bengals have had with their quarterback transitions. Burrow's ability to make off-script plays in the passing game while having elite-level touch and timing should help maximize the talents that they have on the perimeter. And because of the lack of rookie minicamps and OTAs due to the COVID-19 pandemic, he'll have to get up to speed in training camp pretty quickly and build that timing and cohesiveness with his receivers. It will probably remind him a lot of when he transferred to LSU from Ohio State during the spring, which he handled quite well. Behind him, I would expect there to be a battle between Ryan Finley and Jacob Dolegala. Both are second-year players, and Dolegala made the team last year as an undrafted rookie free agent out of Central Connecticut State. He has more arm talent than Finley, and it was the latter who didn't make the most of his audition last year and would be hard-pressed to keep a tight grip on that QB2 role this training camp. Starting tailback Joe Mixon is coming off of back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. He ran for 1,137 yards last year after leading the AFC in rushing back in 2018. It was highly impressive to see him thrive last season despite not having a competent passing game to help take some of the pressure off of him. This season, that may not be the case, as we should see him hit that 1,000-yard mark again for the third straight year, something that hasn't been done in Cincinnati since Cedric Benson did it from 2009 to 2011. Now, finding a dependable backup is an ongoing quest, it seems like, for the Bengals. Gio Bernard could be considered that guy, but he hasn't quite been the same in the last 2 seasons. He's a solid outlet receiver with quickness, but faces some stiff competition from Travion Williams, the second-year back out of Texas A&M. He, Rodney Anderson, if he can stay healthy, or Samaje Perine figures to battle it out during training camp. There is a lot of optimism surrounding the Bengals receiving corps this year because they get back a healthy A.J. Green, who missed the entire 2019 season with an ankle injury, and having him back in the lineup is a great thing for an offense and for a rookie quarterback because you get a stable veteran that's a superstar to help ease the transition. And although the passing game was quite down last year overall, it was able to highlight a few bright spots. Tyler Boyd solidified himself as one of the top number 2 wideouts in football. He has posted back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons and is one of the best run-after-the-catch guys and route runners in the game today. We also got to see Alex Erickson and Auden Tate make the most of their extended opportunities. Erickson finished 3rd on the team in receiving, while Tate was 2nd, posting the best numbers of his career as he enters his 3rd season as a big-time target. The hope, and it seems like this has always been the case for his entire career, is that John Ross can stay healthy, because when he does, he has proven he could be productive and an explosive threat in the passing game. Now, the team didn't pick up his option, so he's playing for a contract here in Cincy or somewhere else. Now, the big get was in the 2nd round of the draft this year with the selection of Clemson wide receiver T. Higgins. He's a tall, athletic wideout that shows the ability to stack defensive backs and work himself open deep down the sideline or down the seams, and he's attacking the football every time it's in the air. He figures to get a lot of work as a potential 3rd receiver in their offense. Inside the red zone is where I think he's going to have an immediate impact. Tight end is probably an area where they'll need to see some significant improvement this season. They drafted Drew Sample last year, but he wasn't necessarily effective before he got injured, which opened the door for C.J. Uzomah to make some noise. And while he was dependable, there was nothing spectacular about his play. Mason Schreck has some raw, intriguing talent, but he has to stay healthy in order to realize it. Now that longtime Bengal Tyler Eifert, who led this group in receiving last year, is gone, someone will have to step up and become a viable threat. Offensive line will definitely garner the most attention this season, as they will have to make the biggest improvement in their play. And we spoke earlier about the potential impact of left tackle Jonah Williams, but how about the potential growth of guard Michael Jordan, who got thrown into the fray last season as a rookie and started to figure things out towards season's end? He is slated to start next to Williams, potentially giving the Bengals a strong left side. Now, on the right side, the Bengals have a bit of continuity with tackle Bobby Hart, who started the last 2 seasons at that spot, at right tackle that is. He's been steady, but really needs to kick it into high gear or kick it up a notch this upcoming season, or he could find himself getting pushed by 6th round draft pick Hakeem Adeniji out of Kansas. I was at that Boston College game this past season and watched him just escort defensive linemen out of the way in the run game. And speaking of the run game, inside is where you figure the run game truly happens. Both center and right guard will be something to watch this upcoming season. At center, Trey Hopkins has completely seized that role from former 1st round pick Billy Price, who has now settled into more of a swing role on the inside. Hopkins has steadily improved each year and figures to be one of the pillars up front. They signed Xavier Su'a-Filo in free agency from the Cowboys, and he is expected to step in at right guard and be their starter. Like I said before, Price has become more of a depth guy, and that's not what you really want to see from a former 1st round pick, but at least it does provide some stable depth on the interior. But I'm interested to see what strides O'Shea Dugas can make this upcoming season. After making the squad last year as an undrafted free agent, he has some position flexibility as he's able to play both guard and tackle. Cincinnati has 2 solid defensive ends in Carlos Dunlap and Sam Hubbard. Now entering his 11th season out of Florida, Dunlap is just 2.5 sacks away from being the Bengals' all-time leader in that category. And Hubbard has gotten better each and every year and should crack the double-digit sack number this upcoming season. He finished last year with 8.5. You always want to see more Carl Lawson out there on the field because of how disruptive he is as a player. He chipped in last season with 5.5 sacks as well as 6 TFLs. On the interior, things should get much better with the arrival of former Houston Texans defensive tackle DJ Reader. He was stout against the run for Houston and is a welcome addition to this Bengals defense that's looking to get better versus the run. His ability should help free up more opportunities for Geno Atkins to get back to his quick, penetrating ways up front. He's entering his 10th season in the league and is hoping to get back to his 2018 season form when he had 10 sacks and 13 TFLs. The Bengals figured that last year was an anomaly for the former Auburn Tiger. And I do like the depth that they have behind Reader and Atkins with Josh Tupou, Ryan Glasgow, and Rennell Wren, who figures to work himself more into the rotation this upcoming season. I'm more excited about the Bengals linebacking core than any other position on the roster. Last season, we saw Jermaine Pratt start 9 games as a rookie and was able to display his athleticism, finishing with 50 solo stops and 4 TFLs. He's got really good instincts and figures to continue to get better this upcoming season. They also added Josh Bynes in free agency from the Baltimore Ravens, who was one of the top defenders on that Ravens defense last year. He's the type of high energy impact player you want patrolling the second level. And my excitement really comes from the 2 new additions that'll team up with Pratt and Akeem Davis-Gaither and Logan Wilson. Both linebackers were drafted this past April and bring to the table high football IQ, athleticism, and versatility. Both guys can play all 3 backer spots and can hold their own in coverage. So no matter the combination, the Bengals can expect to have 2 to 3 good backers on the field at all times this upcoming season. Also, the signing of Austin Calitro was an underrated one. He's going to be a core special teamer, number 1, but he has logged a lot of starts over the last couple seasons and plays with the right amount of aggressiveness that you want to see at the position. I think the Bengals got better here this offseason. Linebacker isn't the only spot where the Bengals got better this offseason. In the secondary, they grabbed 2 Minnesota Viking corners in Trey Waynes and Mackenzie Alexander. Waynes gives them a solid starter opposite of William Jackson, who will be looking to have a bounce-back season as he's still one of the top corners in the game. And Alexander gives them a brash slot corner that can mirror and match with the best of them. LaShawn Sims comes over via free agency from the Tennessee Titans and will provide good depth on the outside. And I'm more interested in the battle between Torrey Mattire and Darius Phillips. Phillips is their return specialist, but also ended up with 4 interceptions, which led the team. Expect that leader this year to be Jesse Bates, the stud free safety. He finished with 3 last season, but has the instincts and range to double that number this upcoming season. He and veteran Sean Williams gives them a solid duo at safety, although Williams may be more than likely headed to a sub-package big nickel type role within this defense, and with the signing of Von Bell from the New Orleans Saints. Bell is an ascending player that has a chance to make an even bigger impact, a bigger name for himself here in Cincy. Keep an eye out for running back Devwah Whaley, the undrafted rookie free agent out of Arkansas. He burst onto the scene with the Razorbacks, showcasing a ton of talent before injuries set in. His career trek, to me, is very similar to that of Rodney Anderson. If Whaley is back to 100%, he'll have a chance to make an impression at training camp. Cornerback Isaiah Swan from Dartmouth is one of the more instinctive corners that you'll see. He can play outside or on the inside as a slot corner and has the ball skills that you look for. Expect him to make a play a day at training camp. Look for wide receiver T. Higgins to have an impact as a rookie. I thought he was not talked about enough during the draft process, and where the Bengals were able to grab him at the top of round 2 was definitely a steal. He's going to emerge as their number 3 target in the passing game by season's end. Those rookie linebackers, Akeem Davis-Gaither and Logan Wilson, will have a major impact in 2020, mainly because of their ability to cover and pressure. This haul reminds me a lot of the year the Bengals took Odell Thurman and David Pollack, 2 difference makers on defense. Now, health permitting, I think these 2 will be able to sustain their success longer than the aforementioned 2. Jonah Williams figures to be the breakout player on offense. I mean, he almost has to be. Solidifying the left tackle spot is paramount for Cincinnati this season, and if they're able to get that done with Williams, then all will be good in Bengal country. I think Jermaine Pratt will be ready for his breakout this season. He showed that last year he was improving as the season went on and checks off the athleticism box needed to thrive in today's game. So look for him to take another step forward this upcoming season. Quarterback Joe Burrow is my offensive X factor for the Bengals this year. Having someone with the passing acumen and mental toughness of Burrow will always help keep your offense ahead of schedule and in the game. I don't think we'll see rookie jitters coming from the former Heisman Trophy winner. Sam Hubbard, building on last season, would make him the biggest X factor on defense in my opinion. If he can become a top tier rusher, to me, that could really transform this Bengals defense. They need to be able to affect the game at all three levels, and having a defensive end that constantly causes problems is a huge asset to have defensively. Football Game Plan is brought to you in part by Ninth and Lux. Visit the website ninethandlux.com and check out the clothing gallery. Do You Music with featured artist IW and his latest release, Mr. Hunter. You can find him on Spotify. Just search IW Mr. Hunter. He's also available on iTunes as well, and follow on Instagram at Do You Music. Nesby Phipps, art, life, entertainment. NesbyPhipps.com. Grind It Out Fitness. Visit the website grinditoutfitness.com and download the app. The Academy of Broadcast Media, located in Hackensack, New Jersey. Be sure to order your copy of the Go-Go Offense by Coach Brennan Marion on footballgameplan.com/GoGoOffense. Coach Marion goes through the ins and outs of his explosive offense, one that's tearing up the college football field and putting a lot of points on the scoreboard. Again, you can order your copy at footballgameplan.com/GoGoOffense. One of the big reasons for optimism for Cincinnati is the fact that they have a stable quarterback in Joe Burrow, who's going to be super talented in my opinion, and they have a lot of talent around him, especially at wide receiver, and one of the best running backs in the AFC in Joe Mixon. You also have to like the athleticism that they've added at the second level. This started last year with Jermaine Pratt. We talked about the two rookies ad nauseum. They have a ton of athleticism. You also throw in Josh Bynes. They should be just fine on both ends of defense, both stopping the run and also out there in pass coverage. And the secondary, I think, got significantly better. So now they've added some guys that can cover. They added guys that are not afraid to help out and run support. We know Jesse Bates is one of the best safeties in the game already. So this secondary looks to be a lot better in 2020. A cause for concern would be if the offensive line doesn't take that next step forward or they don't improve overall. If there's still some inconsistencies up front and still trying to figure out who should be starting where, that could set back this offense that has a lot of potential to be dynamic. And if those aging players on defense, you're talking about Carlos Dunlap, you're also talking about Geno Atkins, if they take a step back or if they start to decline and they don't really have an answer for the next man up, it could be an issue up front. I think their defense, especially their defensive line, has some age on it, and those guys can't afford a drop-off just yet for Cincinnati. The road to the Super Bowl for the Bengals goes as follows. If that receiving core stays healthy and intact, I'm talking about a full season for John Ross, I'm talking about a full season for AJ Green, along with the emergence of Auden Tate, Erickson, and T. Higgins. If they stay intact, they could do some special things. And Joe Burrow has to play lights out. He can't have that rookie wall that people talk about, hitting the rookie wall. Can't have the rookie jitters. If he plays lights out, this offense should really catch fire. And their run defense has to get into the top 10. They were 32nd in the league last year, over 148 yards given up rushing a game. If they can get into the top 10, their defense will be better as a whole. Their offense should be better with all that talent and health. The Bengals could march their way down to Tampa in February. I have the Bengals finishing fourth in the AFC North. I've said before, this is a team that wasn't as bad as their 2-14 record indicated. And now when you have a second year in the system, yeah, you're going through all the COVID-19 things. Every team is, but the most important thing about the Bengals I like is that they're talented on both sides of the ball. So they could sneak up on a couple of teams, and yeah, I have them finishing fourth, but this will be a team that will be competitive week in, week out in the AFC and in the NFL as a whole. So that's it for this edition of Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts, and don't forget to check out and subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network located at youtube.com/footballgameplan. Also subscribe on iTunes to Football Game Plan Podcast and leave us a 5-star rating. That's where you can find our NFL All 32 podcast. And keep it locked here on the Football Game Plan YouTube channel, where we will have a ton of Bengals related video content coming down the pike on our All 22 show, our fantasy football starting lineup, as well as our best bets.
It's D-U-E-U till I see you by this point. You're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it. Let's do it. We gon' make this thing official. You heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit. Man, we about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it. Let's do it. We gon' make this thing official. You heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit. Yeah.